From Kern Government Television, welcome to this week's Kern County Board of Supervisors meeting. Originating from the Kern County Administrative Center, located at 1115 Truxtun Avenue in Bakersfield, California. Grounded in ideas, energy, and innovation, Kern County's vision is to be a driving force for the world's fifth largest economy, and our mission is to exceed expectations of the communities we serve, changing the way they feel about government, those who manage it, and the services it provides. Today's Board of Supervisors meeting will convene momentarily.
Board to reconvene. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Supervisor Peters?
Here.
Supervisor Parlier? Supervisor Flores?
Here.
Supervisor Couch?
Here.
Supervisor Perez?
Here.
Okay, we'll begin with the report on action taken in closed session.
Good afternoon. This morning, following the AM agenda, your board heard items 92 through 95 in closed session. There were no reportable actions taken.
Okay, thank you. Our next item is the consent agenda. All items listed with the CA or C above the item are considered to be routine and non-controversial by county staff. The CA represents the consent agenda for the Board of Supervisors. The C represents the consent agenda for the Kern Sanitation Authority and or Ford City Taft Heights Sanitation District and or the IHSS Public Authority. Consent items will be considered first and may be approved by one motion. If a member of the public wishes to comment or ask questions regarding an item or items on the consent agenda, they may do so prior to a vote being taken. Members of the board may remove any item from the consent agenda, and it will be considered in listed sequence with an opportunity for any member of the public to address the board concerning the item before action is taken. The consent. Okay, oh, thank you. Yeah, we had two small changes to the consent agenda. On item number 7, we'll remove Bolt House Land Company, LLC, and replace with Donnie Morris Real Estate, LLC. And then on item 30, it's remove authorized Public Works Director to sign and replace with authorized Chairman to sign. That being said, the consent agenda is item 5 on page 2, item 6 on page 3, items 7 and 8 on page 4, items 10 through 16 on page 5, items 17 through 23 on page 6, items 24 through 31 on page 7, 32 through 38 on page 8, items 39 and 40 as well as 42 through 46 on page 9, item 47 as well as items 49 through 52 on page 10, and items 53 through 59 on page 11. Are there any members of the public that would like to speak regarding the consent agenda?
Our first speaker is Marquette Hawkins.
Well, good afternoon, Chair and members of the Board of Supervisors and county staff. My name is Dr. Marquette Hawkins, Mayor of California City, California. I'm here today to express my sincere appreciation for your consideration of California City's nomination as part of the preliminary countrywide census tract recommendation for Opportunity Zones 2.0. Now, on behalf of our City Council, staff, and residents, thank you for recognizing the potential that exists within California City. Inclusion in this recommendation represents an important step toward attracting new private investment. Also for creating jobs, expanding housing opportunities, and encouraging responsible economic development throughout our community. California City has made significant progress in recent years by strengthening its financial position, improving infrastructure, and laying the foundation for long-term growth. Opportunity zones would complement those efforts by providing another valuable tool to help attract the investment needed to transform a vacant land parcel into productive projects that benefit both our residents and the Kern County region as well. We also recognize that today's action is part of a broader process. With the state submission deadline of July 20th, we appreciate the county's work in moving this recommendation forward and advocating for communities that stand to benefit from these opportunities. So again, thank you for your partnership, your leadership, and your continued commitment to economic development across Kern County. We also look forward to working alongside the county and the state to help make this opportunity a reality for California City and for the region. Once again, Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
Our next virtual speaker is William Wang.
So, good afternoon, Chairman and members of the board. My name is William Wang, representing Wind Farm Investment LLC, the applicants for item 50. So, we are participating online today and are ready to answer questions that the board may have, and we respectfully request your approval of this proposed resolution and the audience for the non-potable water pipeline franchise. And thank you for your time, and we sincerely appreciate the hard work and support from the County General Service Division. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was our last speaker.
Okay, thanks. We'll bring it back to the board for any questions or comments. Okay,
Motion on consent.
okay, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion on consent. Thank you, Supervisor Perez, and to adjourn as the Board of Supervisors and reconvene as the Kern Sanitation Authority.
Second.
Please cast your votes.
The motion is approved. All ayes.
Okay, we're now sitting as the Kern Sanitation Authority, and we'll consider the consent agenda, which includes items C1 and C2. Are there any members of the public that have registered to speak on these items? Okay, seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board for a motion to approve and adjourn as Kern Sanitation Authority and reconvene as the Board of Supervisors.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Please cast your votes.
The motion is approved. All ayes.
Okay, this takes us to item 3, which is public presentations. This portion of the meeting is reserved for persons to address the board on any matter not on this agenda, but under the jurisdiction of the board. Board members may respond briefly to statements made or questions posed, may ask questions for clarification, make referral to staff for factual information, or request staff report back to the board at a later meeting. The board may also take action to direct staff to place a matter of business on a future agenda. And speakers are limited to 2 minutes. And do we have any speakers registered under public presentations?
Our first speaker is Paul Festi.
Yay. We made it.
Thank you, Paul Infesti, Paulin, FESDY, although I guess you have those in writing already now, don't you? Convenience in elections is not to the benefit of those who want to make it as difficult as possible to vote through various voter suppression techniques. Convenience in elections, however, is the friend of our representative democracy to remove roadblocks so that every citizen can exercise their right to vote easily and fairly. Case in point, last week's action to remove the commissioners of the bipartisan U.S. Election Assistance Commission, which has historically served as a resource for election officials by providing voluntary guidance, research, best practices, and federal grant administration that support election administrations nationwide. As Los Angeles County Registrar Recorder County Clerk Dean Logan put it, quote, "Any sudden change to the support structure for elections in the middle of an election cycle is concerning. Fortunately, California has a strong local and state foundation for election administration and voting systems support, and that will minimize any potential disruption caused by this action. For states without such a foundation, the impacts may be more significant. Our focus remains on conducting safe, secure, and transparent elections in Los Angeles County. We will continue working with our state and federal partners as appropriate to ensure voters have confidence in the election process regardless of changes at the federal level," unquote. This has been the attitude I have seen reflected by our own Kern County Clerk, Amy Espinoza, and I have every confidence that this board will select the new registrar of voters who holds the same outlook. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Linfesti.
That was the last speaker.
Okay, that was our last public speaker. We'll move now to board member announcements or reports. And I actually have something kind of special today. We have a guest here in the audience, Mr. Charles Ryu and his wife Maddie, and they're joined by some friends. I don't want to give away too much of his story, but Mr. Ryu actually escaped from one of the most oppressive regimes in the world in North Korea. And it's not often that we get to hear from somebody with the experiences that he has. And you know, the freedoms we have and enjoying this country is something that a lot of us take for granted, but it's something that millions of people in the world still don't get to enjoy and have a hard time imagining. So this was too good of an opportunity to pass up, and I really just wanted to welcome Charles and Maddie and all of your guests on behalf of Kern County, and ask if you would like to maybe come down and just share a few words kind of about your story and your mission and what you guys are doing.
Thank you so much, Chairman Peters, for having us here. It's an honor to visit Kern County. It's a lot cooler than Las Vegas, so I love it here. Yes, so I am from North Korea. I was born and raised in North Korea, and I escaped North Korea twice. First time when I was 14, and second time when I was 16 and a half. And I eventually came to America, resettled here. I went to school in Contra Costa County up in NorCal. I graduated my high school back in 2015. I worked many different jobs, and I eventually landed as a software engineer for a small college up in Santa Barbara called Westman College. And eventually I realized, my story is very unique, but this is not uncommon. There are a lot of North Korean refugees who goes through even worse stories than I do, and eventually they don't get the same chance as I did. And I'm truly blessed to be here in America, but there are a lot of friends who are basically struggling to survive in South Korea to make ends meet, because a lot of people think that escaping North Korea and your life is good, but escaping North Korea is just the beginning. Being in South Korea or being in America, having a second chance at life, that's your new beginnings. And I wanted to be the pillar to those people who are starting from ground in South Korea or in America. So I eventually found a nonprofit named Freedom Bridge Foundation, where I want to give North Korean defectors a second chance and seeing the world, America, and seeing how big the world is, and giving them dreams and hopes of getting them out from survival mode to basically dream mode. So that's why I started, and here are my friends from North Korea. I have my friend Kangwoo. I mean, people think that my story is crazy, but this guy is on a whole different level. He escaped North Korea, and he voluntarily went back to North Korea the second time. He rescued his parents, and then he fought his way out, literally getting into a physical altercation with the security guard and getting his parents out. And he's wanting to become a politician in South Korea, tries to make a better ways for North Korean refugees and for South Korean people as well. And Mr. Lee Young-ju, he is also running a nonprofit called TIMJ. So Lee Young is very big on sharing gospel to North Korean people. And I'm not sure if you guys know before that North Korea, Pyongyang, was actually the Jerusalem of the East, because there are so many Christians back in North Korea in the 1930s. So Il Young is very big on trying to spread the gospel and make sure North Korean people are saved. So I am very grateful to Chairman Peters for having us here, showing us the Kern County, and I'm very excited to just enjoy and show my friends where I live, how great America is. So one thing that I wanted to mention was meanwhile I realized I had a tough time living in different places, being in North Korea, being in China for a little bit. I was abandoned, and I'm grateful that I've got a second chance here in America. And I realized that when you come to America, anyone can be American. When you go to South Korea, even though you're born and raised in South Korea, you can never become South Korean if you have a different skin color or different. But here in America, you can become American. So I'm very grateful for the second chance that I have, and I want those chances for my friends and my families back in North Korea. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Well, we're very grateful for you guys being here, and You guys actually got lucky. You guys, your first time in America, you found the best place in the whole country already. So, no, we really appreciate you sharing your story and taking the time to be here with us today. And I encourage everybody to go and check out your story. It's on YouTube and a lot of other places. And it's really awesome the work you guys are doing. So, with that, I'll come back to the board if there's any other board member announcements or reports. Supervisor Flores.
Thank you, Chairman, for bringing what a wonderful special guest and delegation to share your story here for the Kern County residents. I recognize you. I've seen you online. My son watches you. And yesterday I was on a panel celebrating the 250th anniversary of America, what makes America great. Your story captures the essence of what it means to be an American, how people want to come to our country, despite our issues that we've had, good and bad. You epitomize the American dream, and I want to say thank you for being here, sharing your story. God bless you guys, and keep up the good work.
Thank you, Supervisor Flores. Supervisor Perez.
It really is just so wonderful and an honor to have you here. My brother lives in South Korea and has a half Korean baby who is my niece, Leah, which is really cool. And he married into a family there who are in ministry, in Christian ministry, like my family. And so they have worked extensively with folks born in North Korea who, for a whole host of reasons, want to build a different kind of life. And they have worked closely with him. The stories I have heard are so compelling and so remarkable. The spirit, the essence of what little bit I know about Korea in its people and its spirit is just astonishing. I have been so humbled by the stories, and I've been encouraged by them. But, you know, Korea in its entirety, you know, is such a big player on the world map. It may be small or appear small, but my God, what you have done as a people to influence the world culturally and in so many ways. I mean, wow, you really are an incredible people, and we're just so pleased to have you here and learn from you. And I really wish you, you know, Godspeed on your, you know, remarkable journey and towards light. So we appreciate you and welcome you, and you know, we love you as our neighbors, as we're instructed to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Perez. Okay, that takes us to our next item, and that is going to be item number 9. And for that, we will turn to our Public Works Director, Mr. Josh Champlin. I'll riff for a minute while he gets settled.
Good afternoon, Chairman Peters, members of the board. Today before you is a protest hearing on proposed confirmation of costs for nuisance abatement work that our staff performed in response to abatements. The item before you today is not a public, it is a public hearing for that. It's to determine, not to determine whether these violations existed, but rather for your board to confirm the costs incurred by the county after the property owners failed to correct the violations. Property owners were notified of today's hearing, were given the opportunity to protest the proposed costs before your board today. These cases involve properties where code compliance identified public nuisances that created public health and safety concerns under Kern County Ordinance Code Chapter 8.44. County ordinance requires property owners to maintain their properties free from public nuisance and to correct any violations. In the case of these properties, they were notified, given time to correct them, and ultimately our staff was required to mitigate these circumstances. The costs associated with work are the subject of today's hearing. If your board confirms the cost today, any unpaid balance after 10 days may be placed as a special assessment against the property and collected through the property tax roll, allowing the county to recover general fund costs related to these abatements. Before opening the public hearing, staff would like to remove items H, J, and K from Exhibit A as part of the board packet today to begin with. So with all of that said, the recommended revised the revised request from the department would be as stands with the removal of items H, J, and K from the item, And now that concludes my portion of the presentation, and then it would be appropriate to open for the hearing.
Thank you, Director. Are there any members of the public that have registered to speak?
First speaker is Jacob Leitner.
Good, how are you?
I came to an agreement, we were gonna call us off the meeting to speak today, that they were gonna assess this in a private manner.
Okay, that may have been one of the items that was removed.
I'm not sure what the number
Supervisor,
was.
that was item H. That was one
Okay.
of the items we removed. from
Yeah,
today's-
that has been
All
removed
right, well,
from.
thank you guys very much, and I see you shortly.
Yes, sir, thank you.
guys.
Our next speaker is Aaron Newman on the phone.
Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon, this is Kern, regarding item A for 9133 Iroquois Way. I didn't hear whether or not that was removed, my phone cut out.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yes, that item was removed from this.
Okay, what is the next step for me then?
I would be in contact with the Public Works Department, and you guys may be able to work through a resolution. Is that correct, Director?
That is correct. We'll continue to work with this gentleman, and if we can come to a resolution, then we won't be returning to your board. If it goes unresolved,
Sorry, it keeps cutting out.
Sorry about that. Basically, the direction was if you could just get in contact with Public Works, and they'll be ready to work with you and try and come to a resolution, hopefully, on this item.
I appreciate that. Is there a contact phone number or email for me to communicate with them with?
Let me get you an answer on that.
the individual, our code manager will be getting a hold of him. We have his contact information, and so he can expect a call sometime tomorrow, initial contact.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. I'm sorry I don't know your name to address you, but I appreciate that. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you all.
That was our last speaker.
Okay, thank you. So that being our last speaker, I'll now bring it back to the board for any questions, comments, or a motion.
Motion on staff recommendation with the changes as outlined by the director.
Second. Thank you. Please cast your votes.
The motion is approved, 3 ayes, 1 absent.
Thank you. That will take us to item, I believe, number 41. Yes, item number 41. And that is a continuation of the local emergency due to the presence and threat of the invasive golden mussels. And that will be with our Assistant CAO, Stacy Kuhara.
Good afternoon, Chairman Peters and members of the board. Thank you for hearing this item this afternoon. So golden mussels were first discovered in the Delta in 2024, and they were discovered in Kern County in March of 2025. In May 12th, your board passed a resolution proclaiming a local emergency in Kern County regarding golden mussels. The county's resolution identified golden mussels present within Kern County infrastructure and identified this issue as a matter of statewide significance and responsibility. Our proclamation encouraged the state to declare a statewide emergency, identifying this would assist in accelerating interagency coordination and response, unlock critical state and federal funding, expedite regulatory approvals for treatment and mitigation, provide support for the protection of essential water infrastructure, and advance the development and deployment of long-term control measures. During this meeting, there was a request to form and hold an ad hoc committee by Supervisor Parlier and Supervisor Flores. Oops, apologies. Since the local emergency declaration, the county held an ad hoc committee meeting which invited members of the public, water agencies, treatment providers, and interested parties. This meeting provided information regarding the county's actions to date, information about the local emergency, and also provided a space for our local agencies to share their experiences, concerns, and information. There are local task force that are meeting regularly, with some local agencies participating in a statewide task force. The county has submitted a request via the California Disaster Assistance Act, which may provide reimbursement for costs spent to water agencies, the county, or municipalities if a state of emergency is declared. We're currently working with our Office of Emergency Services to verify the damage estimates. Kern County also signed on to a coalition letter drafted by the Kern County Farm Bureau encouraging Governor Newsom to declare a statewide emergency for golden mussels. We've been supporting the Golden Rule campaign, a countywide campaign between local water interests that are working to protect local resources from golden mussels. The Golden Rule campaign seeks to inform the public of golden mussels, providing them with information on what to look for, where to look, how to report it, anything specifically aimed at protecting our recreational lakes and the Kern River. Apologies, my slides are a bit out of order. The costs currently reported by our Kern County water districts and agencies as of July 1st are at $7.3 million. The water agencies are reporting they anticipate their costs to remediate golden mussels may eventually reach up to $36 million spent annually. There have not been any costs reported by any county department or any of our local cities to date. California Fish and Wildlife continue to monitor the status of golden mussel infestation across the state. We will continue to work with our water agencies and Cal OES for cost reimbursement if a statewide emergency is declared. We will continue to promote awareness and work to protect our recreational lakes and our local facilities. And today's action is the recommendation that your board approve extending the local emergency due to the detection of golden mussels for an additional 60 days. That concludes my presentation, and I'm available if you have any questions.
Okay, thank you. I will bring it back to the board for any questions or comments before we take public comment. Supervisor Flores.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman. I wanted just to thank Stacy and the CAO's office and Thomas Brown for coordinating, and Supervisor Parlier and I served on the first subcommittee where we heard feedback from stakeholders, and we are pressing the effort on every front, working with water districts and doing the groundwork, doing the documentation, navigating the costs. So I just want to implore the governor and the state legislature to hear not just Kern County's cries for help, but the entire Central Valley and the state. We need that state declaration of emergency so we can start capturing the monies now. And every day that goes by, every week that goes by, the situation is intensifying and getting worse. And so I just implore the governor to declare that state of emergency so we can get the work done. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor. Any other questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, have any members of the public registered to speak on this item?
We have no public comment.
Okay, well, thank you, Stacy, for the presentation, and Supervisor Flores, Supervisor Parlier for your engagement on this. We will entertain a motion on staff's recommendation.
Motion.
Second.
Please cast your votes.
The motion is approved. All ayes.
Okay, this takes us to our final item, item number 48, which is a response to the June 16th, 2026 referral regarding solar tax exclusion legislation, as well as California Energy Commission permitting authority. And this presentation will be with our Planning and Natural Resources Director, Craig Murphy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I actually believe that Mr. Thomas Brown is going to make the presentation. I'm here to just support and answer any questions your board may have.
Perfect, thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair and members. No worries. Good afternoon, Chair and members of the board. I'm here to provide the update you requested on June 16th regarding two items. The first is the status of state legislation related to the solar tax exclusion, and the second, the California Energy Commission, or CEC's, permitting authority for large-scale solar projects. To start with some context, the solar exclusion has been around since 1980. When Proposition 7 allowed the legislature to exempt active solar energy systems from property tax assessments. The legislature codified that exclusion in 1981 and set the initial sunset date for January 1st, 1986. Since then, the sunset date has been extended repeatedly, most recently in 2022 through SB 1340, which was authored by Senator Hertzberg. At this point in the 2026 legislative process, no legislation has been introduced to extend the solar tax exclusion further. Absent new legislative action, the exclusion will become inoperative on January 1st, 2027. While no formal sunset extension bill is in print, we are working diligently to oppose SB 1329. Although this bill doesn't explicitly extend the exclusion, it would dramatically change how solar projects are valued for tax purposes. The bill seeks to prescribe rules for the valuation of an active solar energy system and would require the assessor to exclude renewable energy credits, federal and state tax credits, cash grants, direct payments, or similar governmental subsidies from the income stream. Under the cost method, the bill would require the assessor to exclude federal and state tax credits or similar governmental subsidies the project received when determining a final assessed value for the project. Early estimates suggest Kern County could lose billions of dollars in assessed value if this bill becomes law. Those losses would be on top of the losses we've already experienced from decades of solar tax exclusions. Like a sunset extension, SB 1329 would continue to provide ongoing preferential tax treatment for utility-scale solar projects. That bill currently sits in the Assembly Appropriations Committee, and we're hopeful we can kill the bill before it advances further. Turning now to the CEC. Under AB 205, a budget trailer bill passed in 2022, the CEC now has authority to permit solar facilities of 50 megawatts or more. That authority essentially allows the state to bypass local permitting processes for those large projects. And I want to share for your benefit and the benefit of the public a little more about the budget trailer bill process, because AB 205, which granted the CEC sweeping permitting authority, is an example of how quickly policy can move through the budget trailer bill process. Trailer bills are meant to implement decisions included in the annual budget. Think of a trailer bill as the set of instructions that explain exactly how the money in the state budget is supposed to be used. Simple example, the budget includes $1 million for local parks grants. The trailer bill would spell out who qualifies, how to apply for the funding, how the funds can be spent, etc. Over time, however, trailer bills have become vehicles for major policy changes with very limited public review. In 2010, Proposition 25 allowed the budget and its trailer bills to pass with a simple majority and take effect immediately, something known as an urgency clause. Per Section 9A of the California Constitution, appropriations for the usual current expenses of the state, so basically state budget items, and urgency statutes are exempt from the referendum process, meaning the voters cannot overturn budget decisions via referendum. Because of this, trailer bills have been deemed quote-unquote referendum-proof. It's also important to highlight that the budget trailer bill process often takes place on an accelerated timeframe. Turning back to AB 205, the bill that allows the CEC to permit large-scale solar facilities, that bill was originally introduced as placeholder budget bill language in 2021 and sat dormant for more than a year before the amended language was inserted on June 26, 2022. From that point, it passed the Senate committee the next day on June 27th. It passed both houses within 48 hours on June 29th, and the governor signed it into law on June 30th. On June 28th, the board opposed that, for your record. A 5-day turnaround for a bill with sweeping statewide permitting implications. The result, local discretion and tools like land use control, CEQA-based review, and public hearings were usurped by the state under this lawmaking framework. While the state argued that AB 205 was needed to accelerate renewable energy deployment, it significantly reduced counties' abilities to negotiate project conditions, mitigate impacts on local communities, and align projects with local planning priorities. AB 205 and what it means for how the state handles big solar projects shows a larger trend at work. State law increasingly favors centralized decision-making from Sacramento. Trailer bills accelerate that shift, and once enacted, these statutes are extremely difficult to reverse. Counties across California, including ours, continue to face significant hurdles in maintaining local control. I know this board and many in our community have expressed growing frustration with the increasing number of decisions being driven from Sacramento. As we keep pushing to protect Kern County's interests, it's important to be realistic about the structural challenges we're up against. But despite those challenges, I want this board and the public to know that staff remains fully committed to staying proactive, defending local discretion, and ensuring Kern County's priorities are strongly represented in the legislature. That concludes my prepared comments. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. The recommended action today is for the board to receive and file this report.
Thank you, Thomas. Supervisor Perez.
I fully expect David Couch to fix this in Sacramento. He has the brains. No question.
Easy enough, right?
You have my full confidence. Just that?
Well, I'll just say I appreciate you bringing this back. I want to ensure that we continue to oppose any extension of this program. I personally am not in favor of approving any additional solar projects in Kern County while this extension is in place. We are constantly hearing about the just transition away from oil while we're constantly being forced to lose our revenues from oil and gas, but then we're expected to replace it with solar, yet we don't get to utilize any of the revenue that any other business would be paying that would benefit the Kern County residents and support our schools, support public safety. We're subsidizing green energy for the rest of California and not getting any of the benefit for it. So that being said, I just would encourage that we continue opposing any extension of that and welcome any other comments from the board.
Thank you, Chairman. I share your sentiments, and for many years, we have done the work on the grid. We've exported a lot of electrons down south, and God knows where. We've taken the impacts, but we've not taken the requisite property tax. It's a very lopsided balance, and I know throughout the years we've opposed that. We've come up with a local structure to keep us whole, but given the new legislation on the horizon, that it could be a real game changer, not extending the exemption, but kind of a backdoor formulaic approach that would essentially do the same thing, just more complicated. So I stand with you in new projects that come before us and those business interests that come before us. If they're working against us on this legislation or in this direction, it's going to have the highest degree of scrutiny for me as well, and I'm inclined to oppose projects as well if they're not going to work with us here.
Thank you, Supervisor Flores. Yeah. Supervisor Perez.
You done, Jeff?
Yeah, I'm done. Thank you.
Well, that's new to me, I have to be honest, because I have never heard the board preempt a project or talk about a project that has not come before us yet, and to say how you're going to vote on it or how you feel about it. I've not seen that before. I accept that that's where at least two of my colleagues may be right now, but I think that's really troubling and problematic legally. In particular, developers who have long-standing interests, they have made all kinds of investments and costs based on representations from this county and a whole host of other things that I find to be very, very, that's troubling to me. We're not there today, but I just want to make those statements for the record and say the idea of punishing developers in Kern County or developers period because of what's happening in Sacramento feels illegal to me, and I think is just problematic. I think we have to take cases and projects as they come before us, take them on their merits, and manage them outside of politics, because this stuff is up, it's down. I mean, the idea that we're going to do to developers what the rest of California does to them by having an entirely unpredictable permitting system, that you can be jerked around in any direction and have nobody even call you back. That is troubling to me, and I don't want to go there. I don't want to see Kern County become that in spirit or form. So anyhow, just some early thoughts. I too am incredibly frustrated by this process because while the state of California has had its political ideology drive a lot of the renewable sector development, in particular in Kern County, it has also been an incredible opportunity for Kern County. We have doubled our apprenticeship programs through local unions. I know not everybody is crazy about that, but the amount of local hire we have been able to procure and produce and perform under this, economic development structure has been absolutely phenomenal. The closure of skills gap, we are the poorest Americans, we're the poorest congressional district. For any city above 250,000, we're the least literate. And this has been an area of economic development that has helped close so many gaps, and I think do a phenomenal job. They are also the same partners in the energy world. They're keeping us on the environmental tech evolutionary track to continue to be leaders in energy, period. And you know how profoundly I support our oil and gas business. I'll continue to do that. I think it's the right and smart thing to do. But I think this conversation is important, one we should track and pay close attention to, because we have big responsibilities to the people who come before us, both under the Constitution and the law, and just in Kern County and who we are. So with all due respect, I submit those comments, Chair.
Supervisor Couch.
Thank you. I understand your frustration, but Supervisor Perez makes a very good point. And I want to ask our council is there any aspect of this that we can talk about in closed session because of the legal ramifications of any of it? Any actions that we might take or that might be taken against us?
If there is a potential exposure to some form of litigation, we may be able to get into closed session, but absent that, I'm not seeing an avenue.
Or a potential action that the county might take.
Right, correct.
So do I need to talk with you about what that might be before we?
Yes, we can have that discussion.
Okay, thank you.
And I'll just add, with all due respect, I disagree. I think that it's important we have this because we're not discussing a specific project. We're discussing the merits of continuing to partner with the state when we're denied any ability to reap the benefit of that for county residents. And I don't want to target any one project, person, or otherwise, but when the state of California has a blanket ban on oil and gas and refuses to consider projects on their merits or a case-by-case basis, yet they continue to expect us to be a good partner. We produce more green energy than anywhere else in California. We've been an outstanding partner, and yet we're continued to be penalized for it. That causes me great concern in continuing to extend that partnership to California. So that's my comments on it, and I'll ask if there's any members of the public that would like to share their comments as well.
We have one in-person speaker, Eric DeVost.
Good afternoon, Chairman Peters, members of the board. My name is Eric DeVoe. I'm a Vice President of Development at Terragen. As I'm sure the board is aware, Terragen's developed over 7 gigawatts of renewable energy here in Kern County, which equates to about an $8 billion investment in the county to date. We've worked with Kern County to entitle all of our projects. We haven't gone through the AB 205 process. I've personally been here in front of this board as we kind of seek to make the best land use decisions in the county, and that's something that we're going to continue to do. I think what we need to recognize is that this is the first time that property taxes are going to be assessed on solar projects in the state of California. And with anything new comes a great deal of uncertainty, right? You're uncertain about what the tax revenues of the county are going to be. We have a great bit of uncertainty about what we're ultimately going to pay. And that uncertainty is important, right? These are billion-dollar energy projects. We're having to go out, get loans, subsidize these projects, understand how all these pieces come together in our financial model to make sure that we can ultimately deliver the project, right? And so these are kind of forward-looking projections that we're making on our projects, and right now, both of us are guessing. And so, given that uncertainty, my suggestion would be, the uncertainty comes from, we haven't sat down and done the math yet. So I think that's what really needs to happen is that, solar companies like mine and the county assessor need to sit down. Let's figure out an equitable way to do the math, to make sure that both Kern County and the projects that it hosts prosper, so that we can actually recognize the tax revenues that we're looking forward to paying and forward to contributing to Kern County. So with that, I thank you for your time today.
Thank you. Are there any other members of the public that have registered to speak on this item?
No.
Okay, seeing none.
Mr. Chairman, may I interject?
I'm
just for
sorry.
a second?
Yeah, Mr. Brown.
I take a little issue with industry's comments right now. When we were in Sacramento back in May, speaking with the author's office about this bill, the assessor, myself, our lobbyists, and a group of us, we asked the industry to provide us their cost estimates. We went out of our way. Assessor Avila provided an estimate on 6 projects that we were looking at a reduction in assessed value of about $6 billion using the income approach. We provided that information to industry in good faith, and we asked them to provide their numbers so we could take a look and see where we're not, where we're not meeting in the middle. And we never got that information. Instead, they gave us one of their tax representatives who handles their property tax assessments, who essentially is getting the data from us and looking to punch holes in what it is that we're providing with no meaningful feedback provided to us. So I just want to make that known for the public and let you all know that that's what we're dealing with when we're dealing with this industry on this particular subject.
I appreciate that, and I appreciate the context, and I definitely I don't hold any ill will on it. As a business owner, I'm looking to do things as cost effective as possible, and I don't begrudge anybody that, but I do begrudge the state creating those opportunities when other industries are taxed at a much different rate and held to a much different standard than this already well-established industry. So I appreciate your efforts on that. And if there's no other comments, I believe this is just a receive and file. Are we going to need a motion to receive and file? Is there a motion to receive and file this?
Motion. Second.
Thank you. Please cast your votes.
The motion is approved. All ayes.
Thank you. That takes us to the end of our agenda, and I will entertain a motion to adjourn to our next meeting, which will be July 28th at 9 a.m.
Motion to adjourn.